Hi guys, welcome to Entretainment. On today's episode, we are going to be checking out one of the most important aspects of running a successful company is creating its culture. When a company is formed, its culture is the most important thing that the company can show off, that the company can basically be proud of, and the company can use that to attract a lot of workforce in order to grow. Right? That's also one of the main identities a company creates for itself in the Indian market. Right? Before we move on to how to create a culture for our company, let's first understand what is the startup culture India as a country today has. Right? Now, when we ask a youngster, someone who's between the age groups of 18 to 25, about what does he think of startups, they think startups are really cool. Startups is a lottery ticket to a lot of money. Startups basically are a chilled out environment with easy bosses, casual clothing, and flexible work hours. You ask a parent, what do they think about startups? They will tell you it's a very disorganized way of working. It's just a bunch of youngsters working together trying to change the world. You ask another corporate company, what do they think about startups? They'll have their own mixed views again, right? Now, everybody has their own views about startups, but at the end of the day, I think if you're not going to start up, the most important thing on a CEO's mind is usually what sort of startup culture is he or she going to sell to its employees, right? The startup culture for your company is going to be directly proportionate to the vision of your company. Be very careful when you're focusing on creating a culture for your company, is because once the culture is created, once the culture is in a loop, once the people are following the culture, it's very difficult for the company to change it. Right? And that's why every entrepreneur has to be very careful as to what steps does he take forward when he's starting his company. What example is he leading by when he's starting his company? And one of the most important aspects that you need to focus is on the moment your company is started, what sort of customer service norms are you teaching your staff? Right? One thing that an entrepreneur should never forget is that your biggest customer, your most valuable customer, are your own teammates. Right? And there you forget that, you're out of business. That's exactly why the corporate culture that we start is always in one direction, is for employee retention, is for our teammates to feel a part of the company, for them to feel a sense of belongingness, and for them to basically ensure that the conducive environment is helping them grow. However, 4 things you can never compromise on while creating your culture is: first thing is your professionalism, second thing is your work ethic, third thing is your discipline, and fourth thing is your productivity. These 4 things cannot come between you and your startup culture, right? Your startup culture is to be maintained and is to be productive and enhancing these 4 things side by side. Your startup culture cannot be a hindrance, it cannot be an enemy to these 4 things. Great. The next aspect that I'm going to share with you is an absolute cheat code to having a fantastic company culture. Yes, and that is having a lot of competitions in your company. Yes, absolutely. You heard me right. Having a lot of competitions. We all love competitions. You and me love competitions. We love winning them, don't we? Everybody loves competitions. Everybody likes that competitor. And that's what you need to do. You need to increase your sales figures. Wow, you need to have some great competitions in your team at all levels. Not only at a junior level, not only at a senior level, at all levels have a competition running in your team. That's first reason is increasing your sales figures. Your sales figures are going to double up straight away with an exciting competition running throughout the week. The second reason I'll have a lot of competition in my team is to increase the level of energy and productivity of my company. The energy in my company is what creates my company. The energy is what creates the corporate culture you and me are talking about. Competitions really increase the intensity that the company works with. It really increases the intensity that your workforce enter the office with. And that will make a big difference to the culture that you and me are talking about. The last reason that I have a lot of competitions in my company is to find my next big player. The next big player that I am going to have in my company, who is going to have my guidance, who is going to basically have my branch head tomorrow, who is going to basically be my CEO tomorrow, is someone who I'm going to identify through these competitions I keep in my company. Right? And as an entrepreneur, it's your job to basically replace yourself with good people around you. It is your job to replace yourself with somebody who can carry out the same roles and responsibility you can. And if you want to identify such a person, The competitions that you keep are the best way, the best channel you can identify someone who's competitive, someone who outperforms others, someone who doesn't work for the money, but someone who works to win your attention. Hi guys, on step number 4, let's check out the most common mistakes made by entrepreneurs while setting up their startup culture. Mistake number 1, and I'm sure you must have seen this, heard this, been a part of this, is the casual culture. The casual culture is the company killer. The casual culture basically involves having an abusive company culture, having their staff walking into office with casual clothing, not paying a lot of attention to grooming themselves. A lot of times you've seen people being allowed to smoke and drink while they're working, right? These are the few things that are not going to attract employees to your company. These are not the things that are going to help you retain people for your company. This is just going to be the biggest enemy for your productivity and for your culture, for your future. If I were you, I would abolish this straight away. The next biggest mistake made by the entrepreneurs when they are running the startup is being the big fat boss. The big fat boss is the biggest enemy to any company. What I mean by the big fat boss is, I'm sure you must have seen that, or you must have heard of it, or you must have dreaded in your worst nightmares having that boss screaming at you for not getting your work done, right? Or being the boss sitting on the big fat chair ordering people to get your work done, right? But this is not the generation that accepts it. The people walking into your company today do not respect the big fat man who can just order them. People today want to see leadership. People today don't want you to give them orders and basically boss over them. If you want to retain your people today, you want to have a culture, you need to befriend your employees. You need to befriend your teammates. You can't really boss over them. You can't really order them. You've got to explain it to them. You've got to teach them. In the last point, we checked out 4 of the most common mistakes made by entrepreneurs. Now let's look at the few things that we must do as entrepreneurs to maximize on our corporate culture, right? Step number 1 that we must carry out is have a very vision-oriented culture. Now, your vision is going to be different from my vision. My vision will be different from yours. Each entrepreneur has his or her own vision for their own companies. And the culture that you set for your company has to be directly in line with the vision that you have, right? The next most important thing is keep your culture very, very professional. What do I mean by professional? I mean, be well dressed, right? Talk well, be chivalrous, respect people, right? Avoid having casual sexism within office hours, right? Now, these are few things that if as an entrepreneur you can take care of, you will have a very, very beautiful corporate culture happening. Productivity is going to be at an all-time high. Employees are going to love you. Your company is going to be the #1 company in your area to work in, right? The next thing that you also must take into consideration is you are the nucleus of your company. You are your company. A lot of times you don't understand that. We differentiate us from the company. But till the time you're not a listed company, till the time you've not issued your IPO, you are your company. You as an entrepreneur define your company. You as an entrepreneur define your culture. And that's why everything that you want to portray has to be within you right from day one. Now, if you really want to be productive in the 21st century, if you want to beat your competitor next door, and if you feel that you want to trump everybody else in the market, you need to understand your employee who is working in your company. You need to understand that person who's walking to your company for an interview. The guy, your next best person, your next best recruit, your next manager, your next CEO, you need to understand him and make him ready for today's competition. Now, usually we have employees in our company giving us their time and us giving them a small piece of money. Now, that is called a salary. Now, what do I mean by salary is you paying the person for his time given to the company. But if that changed, instead of time, you pay the person on productivity, I think that would make you much safer as an entrepreneur and would make my staff much happier. The person walking into your company today won't be happy with a small salary paid for the number of hours he gives your company. He or she wants to be paid on their production. The production is something they can control. They can learn, they can improve, and they can improve their production. But time is a constant. And that's one reason why people who are working on a more performance-based structure are always attracting better quality staff, leaders in general want to work on this particular format? Ask yourself a question. Would you want to be paid per time? Would you want to be paid per production? And you'll get the answer to what you prefer. As an entrepreneur, this would be my biggest advice. You want to up your sales. You want to basically have a nice, enthusiastic culture in the company. Ensure that you're promoting people based on their productivity. You're paying people based on the productivity. Time is not a factor in your company anymore. The next most important thing that I am going to share with you as an entrepreneur is the level of training that matters to help your company culture expand. Now, what do I mean by the level of training? The level of training basically means how can you help your workforce, how can you help your team go from their current situation to their destination. And if you can help your employees reach their destination from their current situation, you are working in a fantastic environment, you are working in a fantastic culture. The three areas that you personally need to focus to help your workforce, to help your team grow are firstly, their personal development. As an entrepreneur, really put a good amount of resources developing your workforce personally. What I mean by personally is the way they talk, the way they walk, the way they look, the way they think. If you can improve these four aspects about your workforce, you have a great asset working in your team. The next most important aspect of an employee, of a workforce, of your teammate that you need to focus on is his finances. It's very important that people working are financially secured, are not in a debt, because these are things that kill the productivity. If you really need your workforce to be basically performing at their maximum, ensure that you can help them with their finances. When somebody is financially secured, they are more open to challenges, they are more open to risks, their mind is more open to give better solutions, right? The third and most important aspect of development is the person's career. Everybody loves being in a better position. Everybody loves accolades. Everybody loves being called something fantastic. And if you can help people grow from level to level within your company, you have a great appraisal policy for people in your company where for every small work that you do, they are given their due appreciation and their due respect. I'm telling you, they are going to follow your company till the very end. They are going to follow your vision till the very end, and you are going to have a successful corporate culture going on with generation to generation within your company. The last and the most important aspect and ingredient that I'm going to share with you that has to be a part of your corporate culture is the fun element, right? All of us always ace the activity that we love doing, right? And as Steve Jobs said, if you don't love doing something, you will give up at some point in time in your life. And that's exactly what is something that I really follow in my company by creating an environment where my workforce can smile, by creating an environment where my workforce can enjoy working. And that's something that I would really advise you guys to do as well. Now, how do I do that? First thing is add a little bit of music in your work, right? Wherever you're working on a workstation, you're working on a project, right? Add a little bit of music. All of us love music. Right? The second thing that you must focus on is having small team nights, having small team outings. It's very important to basically bond with your guys, to build genuine relationships with your people, is because a lot of times people don't stick back for the company. People don't stick back for the money. People stick back for the relationship they have with the owner of the company.